Hey guys, it's Wild with Worden, and here's the pendulum. We're at the Tellus Museum in Georgia, and this pendulum swims back and forth. It's attached to this cable all the way up there, and it swims back and forth on the same plane, but because of the rotation of the Earth's axis, it knocks over one of these pegs every 10 minutes. So as the day goes on, it'll rotate around that whole circle. This is getting awful close. So here's a brontosaurus, guys. This is one of the longest and largest dinosaurs ever. Look at that tail, just keeps on going. These guys are plant eaters or sauropods, so meaning four-legged. So sauro is several. Theropods would be two. You can see this thing goes all the way over to there. Just a long whip-like tail that came up. And these monsters right there, monstrous. And that right there is probably, it says touch this if you dare, so I'm going to guess that's probably dinosaur poop. It is dinosaur poop. Look at the crystallization in there. So these bones, interesting thing about the brontosaurus was that they were found shortly after the apatosaurus was found, and then they thought that they were the same dinosaur. So the way naming of a species goes, first name always rules out. So the brontosaurus had to be called the apatosaurus, and it's a bummer because that was always one of my favorite names for a dinosaur, was the brontosaurus. And then they found out in 2015 that they actually were two separate species. So it's back to brontosaurus again, which makes me very happy. That's so cool. Giant sloth. This is so cool. 13 feet tall, this giant ground sloth. Man, I bet you they moved a lot quicker than the ones we have now. Over here, we have some other fossils. Trilobites, they were found all over the world. Real common indicator species, and I love them. I think they're so cool. They're brachiopod. That looks similar to the big fossil I have that I brought into class. Plant fossils. Check that out. How cool is that? Mosasaur. That would be such a cool one. Look at an amphibian skull. Another amphibian skull. Oh, as a kid, this is one of my favorite dinosaurs. I thought they were so cool looking. They're smaller than I realized. Looks like they could have been pet size. Here we go. Dromaeosaurus. These guys would have had feathers. They were found up into Alaska and all the way down through Canada into the top part of the continental United States. 7 feet long and 3 feet high. Those are those guys there. And Monosaurus, or the duckbill. These guys, of course, were found in the United States as well. And why does this guy look like he's running in a hurry? Because of that. Appalachiosaurus. Look at that. That's probably one of the biggest predators that was found in this part of the country. This was down in South Georgia, the northern part of Florida. And these guys got 20 feet long. The good thing these guys are extinct now, because that would make for a rough day going to school. And pterodons, here's a pterosaur. These guys are always cool too. Look how disproportionately large the head is compared to the body. And unlike a bird, look how it had to tuck its fingers, really. So this flap here is just an extended finger, much like a bat. You can see it still has claws right there. We got a triceratops. Look how thick and heavy these things were. These guys were like walking tanks. These guys would make rhinos look like nothing today. Monstrous. This is Lane and baby Lily. These guys are probably found together. It's 26 feet on the adult. And look at the little pterosaur zipping around. And then we got, of course, leading up to the business end, the good old T-Rex. The terrible lizard. Look at the little vertebrae comes down with like those little fingers on it up in there. I don't know if you can see that in the camera. Look at that size of that mouth. Huge. Yeah, that's just awesome. That's awesome. Snake neck dinosaur here goes in. Elastomosaurus. This is what people think when they think of Loch Ness Monster. They think of stuff like this. It's a scary thing to run into while you're swimming. And then here is an early whale. Well, I guess it's not a whale. This would still be a reptile. And here's a big fish. Imagine hooking that sucker. Holy crow. 38 million years ago. 17 feet long. And then this is the coolest thing. The gigantic 11-foot long, 15-foot wide sea turtle. Look at the size of that thing. It's massive. And that's what they would have looked like 80 million years ago. 500,000 years ago, we had some pretty strange looking mammals, like this Glyptodon. These guys were herbivores and they were protected pretty well, almost like a turtle. Really strange shape. This is what they think they probably look like. Kind of like a tough armadillo, I guess. And of course you got the Smilodon, or the saber-toothed cat. Very strange. Make you wonder how good it could actually eat with those fangs. And then this mammoth. The American mastodon. These guys were huge. They used to make an elephant look small. Crocodile fossil that they found. It's one of the few things that hasn't changed for millions of years. A bunch of other stuff. There's mastodon teeth or mammoth teeth. Nope, those are both mammoth. This has that jaw on that one. Little bird prints. Huh. There's eggs. No, those are clams. Hey guys, what's the difference between a rock and a mineral? Minerals are composed of elements and compounds, and they are building blocks of rocks. Rocks are composed of one or more minerals. Boulder of copper. How cool is that? So copper oxidizes. As it oxidizes, it turns that pretty green color. So here's a one. Again, it's the same, but everybody keeps touching this area, so it keeps the oxidation off. It keeps it polished like a penny. So, but you see where it's still oxidized in there. That's pretty cool. That thing's huge. Well, they have one heck of a gem and rock collection. That's really pretty cool. Wow, that's the different stuff in there. Look at this crystallization. The gypsum crystals are cool. Here's a piece of petrified wood. You can still see the graining of the wood and everything. And it's all got replaced by minerals. It just keeps going. These guys have tons of stuff. Man, look at that. Wolfenite. Look at that piece of petrified wood right there. That's so cool. This is all stuff that can be found around here. You can see the chart. The amethyst quartz. Just all found in Georgia. As you can find it down around here. Calcite, again found in Georgia. That's a stalactite from a cave. So that That's by a stalagmite. Oh, wow, check that out. Interesting crystals and stones and stuff out in the wild. You can see what they look like. So like that smoky quartz there, and then you cut it down to get it to that polished gem look. So this is a neat comparison. You can see how they're found in nature and then how you would polish it. And then over here, here's a display on how you start with your as found, and then how it goes through and then changes it down until you finally get to your finished stone. A lot of steps in it. You don't just find them like that, like you do in the movies. So different properties you do. You check for cleavage and fracture to see how smooth it'll break. Luster, shiny or not, right? Your hardness, you would do that on a scale to find out how hard something is. You can see the scratches glass. Glass, I believe, is 5 or 7. Density and magnetism. That's ways to start to identify a mineral. They cover color and streak. So color obviously is what it looks like when you're looking at it, but streak can be completely different than its color. So you can see all these different colors here, but then here's a scratch plate where you would see if it streaks. Now if it's soft enough to streak, you can see how some of these, the streak is much different than the color of the stone itself, especially with this first one here. The streak is white, but the stone appears black. You can see the quartz really, there's a white streak on that, but it's very faint. See, pyrite with a streak and a greenish black. Really cool periodic table of elements. I'm going to scan this one pretty quick because there's other people here, but they have a description and stuff that it's used in. So you can see what all this stuff is used for different things. And it's really neat. I think it's funny that the chromium, they're showing an old Cadillac, a lot of chrome on it, but it's fake chrome because it's plastic. And another one I really like is the iridium. It's got the dead dinosaur in it.
Yeah, the Einsteinium. It says named after Albert Einstein, but it has no use.
Gallium is a liquid metal right there. Here's your transitions come through, and of course your noble gases. Now, neon is showing an example of a letter N with some neon writing on it. They should put a little neon sign there. That would be really cool. We're at the Tellus Museum in Wright, Georgia, or Cartersville, Georgia. And this is the 1896 Ford quadricycle. This is actually Henry Ford's first vehicle. Check out that twin cylinder. Look how the valves operated on a pivot there. And that would throw that flywheel operated by belts and chains. This is a pretty cool place. They got all sorts of neat stuff. You got horses, carriages, the tiller steering like this, locomobile. "20-mile-an-hour top speed." And then they have this collection of outboard boat motors. This is really cool stuff. Looks like they're works of art. The beautiful motors. Now the Evinrude. Little half horsepower. Very neat. 1902 Elmore. 5 horsepower. Twin cylinder. You can see, look underneath there, you can kind of see how it all operates. This 1902 Orient buckboard, another 4 horsepower hot rod. No front brakes. It is literally a buckboard. And then out back here we got this neat little Air-cooled engine. Gear-driven, not belt or chain. Check that out. In the turn of the century car, this was a 1903 Holzman, 10 horsepower. And he thought big inch rims were a modern invention. Check out that little thing. It probably had oil or something in it that would to be able to oil up everything as you went. See, it's run by twin twisted rubber belts, power the wheels. You'd step up right through there on a little set of stairs going up to get you up in there. Tiller steering, gas lanterns, and right next to that is another 1903. This one's a Weber electric, so this one, again, another thing that everybody thinks is a modern thing is an electric car. But here it is in 1903. Electric cars and gas cars kind of were in big competition with each other even back then. Gas won out for its ease and simplicity once it started making a lot of gas. Now check out that differential. That's, man, it's a work of art there. It's really cool. Batteries probably stored in there. The range probably wouldn't have been very far on this. And there's your amp gauge. Let's see what it said. It did 40 miles an hour. Or no, 15 miles an hour, but only 40-mile range. Compared to the Chevy's EV1, this was the beginning of the electric car boom in the 80s. And all these got wiped out. They tried them out. They only 155 to 95 miles on a charge. Took 3 to 7 hours to charge them. They'd be good for a commuter car, but not much else. And see, it's just 2-seat. As old as this is, it still looks pretty modern. A replica of the Wright brothers plane. Didn't fly very far and really not very well. And wasn't ready for any kind of long-powered flight. You could see you'd just lay on the wing. So it kind of get tiring after a while. 1886 Benz. This is later turned into the Mercedes-Benz company. Check out the flywheel. All pinion jack shaft set up there that would spin that around and send the power out. It's a three-wheeler, so we already looked at the four-wheeler, so we'll check out some of these motorcycles, like the Shaw, the 35-mile-an-hour single-cylinder. I guess early Indian. 1908. It's got to be. They started in 1901. So there's pedal power to start. Check out that fuel tank. Is that the, yeah, the fuel tank on the back. That's pretty neat. Twin chain, because one ran the pedals and one ran the off the engine. This E-Class train, this is really cool. This is not very big. Twin cylinder, 10 mile an hour. There's a 22-inch wide track on the gauge of it. So you'd sit right up in here and feed that little coal tender. This is a steam-powered locomotive. Yeah. What do you think, hon? Can we get one of these for our house? It is. Radial engine. Wright Cyclone. This is 1,425 horsepower. 55-inch diameter, weighs 1,380 pounds. What's crazy, that horsepower, 1,425, is still a ton of horsepower. But we got cars, street cars that are making that now. That is incredible. Here's a jet engine. This is neat. This is the first time I've seen a cutaway, so you can kind of see how they work. All these little turbines in here. Comes through. The input speed changes, and then out comes here. We all know what happens there. Look how complicated the interior 1967 of this Jetstar control panel. Good Lord. Imagine trying to keep tabs on all that stuff, keep all that stuff straight. Look at the wiring nightmare this is. They're all white, too. That's a cool helicopter. And look how far we've come in travel. Replica of the Mercury capsule. There's the fuel cell for a shuttle. The tires are a lot bigger than I thought they would be. And the Michelin company makes those tires. Apollo 1 command module replica. Space suits and everything. This is a pretty cool museum. Again, guys, we're at the Tellus Museum in Cartersville, Georgia, or Wright, Georgia.